they don't have to give us the apothem. So in this case, we are just given one side of this regular pentagon, and we are going to have to figure out the perimeter and the area. So the perimeter, again, is very easy. 8 millimeters per side, 5 sides, 5 times 8 is 40. However, finding the apothem is going to be a little more difficult. So first thing we want to do is draw in the apothem and a radius of this shape, because that's going to help us figure out the distance for the apothem. Now, if each side is 8, you'll notice here, this apothem kind of divides this side in half. So right here would be 4, and this would be 4. So if we divide this 8 by 4, that tells us its distance here for this base of the triangle. And then we can think about what the angles would be for this triangle. So this is a pentagon, 5 sides. If we do 360 divided by 5, that would give us 72. That would be one central angle. And we talked about a couple slides ago about how this angle right here is just half of a central angle. So if we take that 72 for a central angle and divide it by 2, we get 36. Finally, we can figure this angle out by saying 180 minus 90 minus 36 would give us this angle. So this angle is going to be 54. Now, if you're confused on how to find these angles, this would be a good time to raise your hand if you're in the classroom, and I can try to explain this to you again. All right, we want to find the length of the apothem. We know the angles of the triangle, and we know a side of the triangle. How do we do this? Well, we learned some trigonometry, so we know how to do this. We need a trig function to find A. And so let's use this 54-degree angle. And A would be opposite, 4 would be adjacent. So we'd say tangent of 54 equals A over 4. So to solve for A, we'd multiply by 4 and get an answer of 5.51 millimeters. Once we know the apothem, then we can use our formula of 1/2 the apothem times the perimeter. And we are going to get an answer of 110.11 millimeters squared. Now notice something here. I didn't put 5.51 millimeters here. I put the exact value. We don't want to put a rounded answer into our formula, because that's going to, if you put 5.51 in here, you're going to get something close to this, but not equal to this. So make sure you put exact values and not rounded values in your formula. So it's good to know that the apothem is 5.51. However, we want to put the 4 tangent 54 into our equation. All right. All right, next thing we want to do is find out the area of this hexagon. So 6 sides, 20 feet a side, 120 feet is going to be the perimeter. Once we've done that, we want to figure out the apothem. So we needed to draw a triangle, got a radius and an apothem in there. Just like before, this length here is going to be half of one side, because this whole thing's 20, so this is going to be 10. We can find this angle. How do we do that? Again, 6 sides. Central angle would be 360 divided by 6. That's 60. This is half of a central angle, so it's 30. In the same way, this is 60 degrees right here, because we got a 30. This is a right angle right here. I'm not sure why that's not in there right now, but this would be a right angle. So 30 plus 90 plus 60. Notice we got a special triangle here, 30, 60, 90 triangle. So in this case, we can find the apothem somewhat easily. If we're going from the side across from 30 to the side across from 60 in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, what would this side be? Hopefully, you know the answer would be 10 times the square root of 3. So that's the apothem. So we've got the apothem, we've got the perimeter. We can plug it in to our formula, 1/2 the apothem times the perimeter. We get an answer. Again, notice I wrote it as an exact value. We could also put it in our calculator and get an approximate value. All right, last one. And I would recommend you try to do this on your own before you hear me go through it. You've already seen 2 examples, so this would be a good time to try one on your own. So pause the video, try to solve this one, and then watch the solution. All right, so perimeter, easy part. 9 times 5 is 45. It shouldn't say feet here, it should say yards. But that's okay. All right. Next thing we got to do is find the apothem. Draw the triangle. Find our values for our angles. In this case, it's going to be 20 and 70. How do we know this? 360 divided by 9 is 40. 40 divided by 2 is 20. And then 20 plus 90 plus 70 is 180. This 2.5 is half of 5, which goes here. To find A, we set up our trig function. Tangent of 70 is A over 2.5. Solve for A. Plug into our formula. Get our answer.